Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Faithful Dogs podcast. I am Tyler Johnson, joined by Zach DeFranco, Jack Robinson. Gentlemen, how we doing tonight?
What's up, boys? How we doing? Long time no talk.
True. It has been a little while. It's nice to have a week off, though. I'll admit, with it being kind of a slow time right now, at least for the Browns. But it finally started to pick up this week with some NFL news, which we'll get to later. Before we do, of course, we always want to take a second, hear from our sponsor, daily fantasy sponsor, Underdog Fantasy.
What's up, everybody? We know that daily fantasy never stops, and Network 216 is proud to be a partner with Underdog Fantasy. Very simple to use. All you have to do is go to underdogfantasy.com, and you will just click the sign in button. You'll create an account if you haven't done so already. If you've not created an account, it'll ask you to enter code 216, and they will double your first deposit up to $100. Underdog Fantasy, live draft lobbies that you get to compete with you and your friends. It's no salary cap like DraftKings and FanDuel. You get to go to a draft lobby, pick the players you want, or you can do daily pick'ems, which give you access to all the NFL and NBA games for you to make your picks every single night. Again, go to underdogfantasy.com or use the Underdog Fantasy app on iOS or Android. Use code 216 to double your first deposit up to $100. Sign up today.
And those of you that are joining us on Twitter, if you would make your way over to the YouTube channel where you can subscribe for free. If you're joining us on Facebook too, we'd really appreciate if you would join us on YouTube. You guys can go over to the channel, subscribe for free. We're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of winter, and we're less than 80 away. So go over, subscribe to the channel, drop a like on the video as well. It helps the channel algorithm grow and Network 216 grow, and we really would appreciate that. Gentlemen, this is going to be a fun show. We have a lot of listener questions tonight. One of them that is not Browns related so far. So I figured we could start there because with Tom Brady retiring, that is the big news, obviously. Before we get into the first question, do you guys believe this is it for Tom Brady?
100%. 100%. I think you could tell just because of that video. I mean, I think a big reason why he came back was to kind of, I know this is like personal and I don't know his personal life, but I think it was to kind of get over his divorce, kind of get through his divorce, play football, get your mind off it a little bit. Cause a lot of people think he chose football over his wife. I think it was probably one of those situations in life where it was just inevitable, it was going to happen regardless. So I think he kind of came back one more year, one last ride, but no, I think it's done. I think Tampa Bay is kind of in that situation where it's time for rebuilding mode. I think Todd Bowles is going to be on the bad side of that too. So no, I think this is it for Tom Brady. I was really thinking he was going to go to like Vegas and team up with McDaniels for at least one more season or something. But no, you can tell in the video he definitely meant it this time. So
yeah, I think last year was kind of an anomaly. Like his retirement that year was just like, I think he was almost felt like he was pressured into doing it just because all the Adam Schefter stuff started coming out and everyone was like, oh, it would make sense that he retires. And especially because I think him coming back made a lot more sense because the NFC was a lot weaker. The Bucs were still one of the best teams in the league. But now they're running up against the cap. They're going to have a lot of issues keeping a lot of their core guys. And I think, he probably just felt that, he's kind of gone to the length that I think no one else thought he would get to. I mean, winning a Super Bowl a couple of years ago at the age that he is and still being a pretty efficient quarterback in this league what is he now? Like 45, 46? I mean, him being that old, but still being able to lead a team to the playoffs, even though, again, they didn't really perform that very well this year. I think that he thought, his career's kind of played itself out and might as well go out when you at least still have some, glory and honor rather than keep playing and hope and see like him just tumble down, which probably I think probably would have happened in Las Vegas. Like he probably would have it would have been one of those burnout years where it looked like, why is he still playing in the league? He probably felt like he was done. So I think that this is for real this time. Now, there's always a chance, and I always feel like I hate saying he's gone because we all thought he was gone last year. But this time I think he's actually gone.
Yeah, I do too. And you could just tell by the tone in his voice. I feel like he was just exhausted. I mean, emotionally, it was starting to take a toll on him. I mean, you could even tell he didn't look, and I'm talking not healthy from like an injury standpoint. He didn't look physically healthy this year. He just looked kind of bad. And so I feel like this is best for him. I think he's going to end up in the booth at some point. It really seems like that's what's going to end up happening, kind of like Peyton Manning. So want to wish Tom Brady all the best. The greatest quarterback we've ever watched in our lifetime, and absolute legend. Tampa Bay is going to be interesting to follow this offseason because, they're really bad cap-wise. They still got a lot of veterans on that team that if you get the right guy around them, they can win that division. I mean, that's the thing. They can still win the division because that division is so bad. You could bring in Jimmy Garoppolo. They could find a way to trade for Derek Carr. So Tampa Bay is one to watch this offseason. That brings us to Josh's question. Josh, my man, appreciate you joining as always. And like Josh says in the chat, go like, share, and subscribe. So his question is, does Aaron Rodgers retire this year too, going with Tom Brady in 2028? Or does he wait till the beginning of next year to retire just to make sure he doesn't potentially get snubbed? I'll start here. Aaron Rodgers isn't retiring. I think he's going to get traded. And I think it's going to be to the Jets. He's going to some team in the AFC because Green Bay's not trading to the NFC. And I think Rodgers has about 2 more years. So what are your guys' thoughts?
That was exactly my thoughts. You could tell at the end of that last game in Lambeau, like when someone asked for his jersey, he goes, "No, I'm going to hold on to this one." People instantly, I even speculated, like, okay, maybe he's done. Maybe that was maybe that was his last ride. But no, that was just his last game at Lambeau. That was his last game as a Green Bay Packer. And I think Aaron Rodgers still has a few more years in him. So, yeah, like you said, Tyler, I really do. There's a lot of smoke around the Jets and where there's fire, and I honestly would love to see that, even though I'm sick of these QBs getting traded to the AFC, dude. I'm sick of the AFC just being loaded with QBs every offseason. So, but yeah, to answer the question, I do think he has a couple more years in him.
One underrated destination, Jack, before you jump in, Las Vegas is an underrated destination.
Yeah.
Just by having Devontae Adams, just by having Devontae, there's a good chance I doubt he wants to go with Josh McDaniels. But again, the opportunity to team up with Devontae Adams once again, go to Las Vegas. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's no real reason to think that he's going to retire. I think that I 100% believe that the Green Bay Packers want to just move off of him at this point. Like, he's probably more hassle than he's worth to them. Even though obviously, they just signed him to that pretty huge extension. But I don't think he has any reason to think that he needs to retire. I think he still thinks that he's good enough to win in this league. Obviously this year didn't turn out the way they wanted to, but I think that he definitely doesn't want to retire, especially just because he still thinks that he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And you get him in a place like New York, that has a bunch of young talent, and it's a roster that's on the rise. I think that he would definitely love that kind of opportunity. So I don't think that there's any reason to think that he's going to retire. And yeah, I do actually kind of like what Josh is saying, that he's kind of egotistical, so he wouldn't want to go in the same year as Tom Brady, and that might also have something to do with it. I wouldn't put it past him, honestly, but I think it's also just because I don't think that he thinks he's ready. I think that because if he was going to do it, he probably would have done it a couple years ago before the huge contract extension talks. I think that he wants to play more football, and he has no reason to retire after last year, like even as bad as he might have been seen to have played.
Yeah, I agree with that. And a good question here from Random Cardboard. Appreciate you joining us as always. Is it worth it for the Browns to trade away defensive talent? It seems we have a lot of mismatching parts, and we're like switching defensive schemes slightly so that we can go after a top tier wide receiver. Who wants to go first on this one?
We've all kind of talked about this one. I think you could potentially see something happen. Out of all the names, I think Newsome makes the most sense, but I think that would hurt a lot. Like a lot of fans, like it would definitely affect our defense, but with how good Emerson played this year too as a rookie, like you could have him and Ward outside, because Ward's contract, like that's hard to trade until at least next season. Jack Duffin broke it down on the OBR. So I think you could see like Newsome, and I would love to see like a Newsome for Jerry Jeudy. I know that's something that we've all talked about as well. But yeah, I think that's a possibility. And AB definitely hinted in that last press conference that he's definitely gonna make some moves. So I could definitely see something like that happening.
I agree. If there's a guy that's getting traded, it's Newsome. He does not seem too thrilled with his role here. He switched agents for a reason. I think Newsome's the one to watch this offseason. They still could keep him. But like you said, Random Cardboard, we do have talent on defense, even though the defense not play like well. There is talent there. Newsome is an up-and-coming young corner. He doesn't have the interception number that some of these other guys have, and that does matter in the NFL. Teams look at that. If you can do a Newsome for Jerry Jeudy, makes too much sense. Apparently, he's not too thrilled with Denver. They tried to trade him at the deadline, but didn't get the price they wanted. If the Browns offer Greg Newsome, to pair Greg Newsome with Patrick Surtain, I think they would absolutely jump at that offer. So I'd watch that this offseason. Other than that, I would, if the Jets didn't have the cornerbacks that they already have, I would look at Elijah Moore for Greg Newsome. I think that would be realistic, but I don't see that. The only way Greg Newsome gets traded, I think, is for Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, I think that it would definitely be worth it because just, of course, we're talking about the scheme. We're talking about, Greg Newsome not really being happy with the current fit of how he's being utilized. I mean, I'm curious just like what kind of wide receivers would be available if obviously someone wanted Denzel Ward. Like, obviously, I don't think there's a huge market for him just because of his contract and just because of, the injury history. But I wonder if there is any sort of rumblings from Andrew Berry, maybe shopping around maybe a lot of his defensive talent, trying to figure out which of these guys is kind of, hot on the market. Can I move and maybe try to find an elite talent at wide receiver, or at least like a top tier talent at wide receiver? Because obviously Jerry Jeudy, he's got a lot of potential. He's had some issues with injuries and just, bad schemes and having Russell Wilson as your quarterback. So, he's had a hard time. Elijah Moore, I mean, we all know about Elijah Moore. Just like, what do you guys think? Do you think there's any chance that maybe a guy like Denzel Ward, they try to move off of him? Or do you think his contract is just way too out there to even be like an asset for a lot of teams?
Jack, Aaron Berry is not going to take a $34 million cap hit.
True.
No matter what is given up for Denzel Ward. Because at that point, like if the Browns trade Ward for Hopkins, again, huge hypothetical, you're getting DeAndre Hopkins, great. You're giving him a new contract at 31 years old, and you get a $34 million dead cap hit from Denzel Ward. Mm-hmm. While he'll be in Arizona.
It's fine.
So, look. His contract, man, is structured to where it does not. There's very little leeway until you get to about
2025, right? Yeah, 2026.
Yeah, 2025, 2026. If you cut him, you could cut him in 2023 technically, like for $12 million. 2024, it's $8 million. So, like, you could cut him. As far as trading him, trading it makes it nearly impossible. Cutting is different in a couple years, but it's brutal, man. That contract, the way it's structured for a reason because they wanted to show Denzel they believe in him.
Yeah.
And that's why it's structured that way. So Denzel's not going anywhere.
No,
and I think he'll bounce back too.
Yeah, I do too. He's an Ohio boy. I'm happy everyone was happy when we paid Denzel Ward when we extended him. So it's just the injury history that sucks. It's like it seems like it's every year. He's kind of fragile, but I mean he's a good lockdown corner when he's on the field. And so is Newsome. But like Newsome has, like you said, Tyler, has openly come out and said, like, I don't like playing in the slot. That's just not where he's comfortable. I don't think a new defensive coordinator, even if he's in that same slot position, changes that for him. He just wants to play where he wants to play. He's a good lockdown corner as well. It's a good problem to have all this talent. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you got to make moves to add more talent on a different side of the ball. Like right now is the Browns' chance to really build around Watson on the offense. And I think they're going to go all in. I really do.
See, the thing is about Newsome as well, he's already looking to that contract because if Newsome stays as a slot corner, $5 to $6 million a year is his contract. He moves back outside and becomes lockdown. He's getting $20 million a year. It's a no-brainer.
Exactly.
He's not going to ruin his own career by doing that. The next question here from Big Kev Sports. Kev, appreciate you joining us, man. It's been a little while, so we appreciate it. Bottlegate review. Oh, wait, wrong one. There's so many comments right now.
Yeah,
we have to get,
thank you. Keep them coming.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Then we have to get to some of the Twitter questions because we got a boatload. With the trend, the NFL is rigged. As fellow Cleveland Browns fans over the years, which games and calls stand out and felt like the NFL and officials were against us? First one, and the main one, Rashard Higgins. AFC divisional game against the Chiefs. Right there. That's it for me. I don't even need to say anything else.
Yeah, Higgins was pissed when he saw that script, bro. That's for sure.
I think the game in 2018, Browns against the Raiders, where it was clear that Carlos Hyde had gotten a first down and we would have iced the game, and instead they called it they called him short, even though he was clearly there. It saved John Gruden going like 0-6 or 0-5 or something. I think they called that one in. I think that one was called in. They were like, we can't let John Gruden go like 0-6. Like that's one of them.
What about the one? Was it Duke Johnson at running back when he was?
I'm trying to
then we like fumbled the ball or something, and he clearly had it.
He clearly had it. Oh yeah.
Wait, I think it was Hyde.
No, that was Duke Johnson.
I think it was Duke Johnson. I think that was one of our 1-15 or 0-16 years, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, it might have been.
He was holding the ball at the ref, and they're pointing towards the other direction, dude.
How did that happen? How the heck does that
It's Cleveland, bro. It's Cleveland.
All right.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, keep the comments coming to the chat. If we have time, we'll get to some more of these questions. Well, we'll get to one more because this is very good. Very good. Jordan Dalton asks us, wrong one. Man, Jordan Dalton asks us, any way we can get Tyler Lockett this offseason? I suggested this on Twitter as a guy that could be available. The issue with Tyler Lockett, if Seattle, and I don't know why I say if, when they bring back Geno Smith, I don't think they're going to want to get rid of Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
Because you have now, if they want to get younger at the position, like Minnesota does, I believe, with Adam Thielen possibly being available, then it becomes a discussion. The thing about Tyler Lockett, I would love him as a fit. He's 30 years old, so age worries you a little bit. He's only going to make $9.7 million this year. They can't cut him. Now, Seattle would have to take on a good portion of that contract because it would cost them $21 million in dead cap to trade him. I don't think he's going anywhere.
I'm sorry, but if we're doing a trade like that and we're going to pay another wide receiver around the $10 million range, like I said today, Tyler, I know you don't think it's going to happen. Go get Mike Evans, dude. Do not put Mike Evans through a rebuilding process. He's 29. Like, he instantly improves the offense. Imagine Cooper, Mike Evans, and DPJ for a few years, man. Like, come on, bro.
It would be nuts. It would be. Here's the thing. It's not that I would love that move. I just truly don't think Tampa Bay is selling. I think they're going to go and try and get a quarterback, and then they're going to try and run it back because, again, they had a lot of injuries this year. They still won the division with a terrible record. They might be able to do the same thing. So,
well, I think that they still think that they're a team that's built to win now. I mean, they still have guys under contract. They had a really rough season in terms of just having a bunch of dudes get injured. So they probably think bring in a quarterback that can, at least be serviceable, get the O-line back, keep our talent at the skill positions and just kind of run it back. And, it's the NFC South. Like, who's really going to be the team that comes and makes the big leap? It's probably not the Panthers. The Saints, maybe, but we don't know what their situation is at quarterback either. I mean, does anyone really trust any of these teams to really be better than the Buccaneers, considering that the Buccaneers have at least some proven talent at a lot of these key positions? I just don't really think that it's that big of a...
I think Carolina could, depending on who they bring in at quarterback.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, at some point, I mean, we'll cover once the dust is all settled, the NFL head coaching hires that were made. I love Frank Reich going to Carolina. I think he's a good coach that just has been royally screwed by his general manager in Indy. So I think Carolina can make some noise there, which would be a lot of fun. Okay. First question on Twitter. This is a good one, guys. This comes from Sean Long at Bingo Long 73. So, hiring a new defensive coordinator, being limited in cap space and draft picks. The first part of that, just so we know, is not true. Who gets the first dibs though on priority? Because both sides of the ball need to add impact guys. So, what side of the ball is taking the lead there?
I
think it's the value,
question.
whatever the value is. I mean, trades, you can make trades in the NFL. It just can't be announced until the new league year.
Mhm.
If there's a trade opportunity, I think that could be first. And I think that would be on if they make a trade, it's for a wide receiver. I think they're exploring that wide receiver trade market. And so I think that's what would have the priority. Like, trade will have the priority. When you get to free agency, defense. All defense in free agency.
Dude, I think so. I think you're gonna make some solid trades. And I think you're gonna trade on the offensive side of the ball, and you're gonna draft for the future. I think on the offensive side of the ball this draft. So I think free agency, when they're gonna spend money, I think it's gonna be interior defensive line. I hope we go get Jesse Bates, stuff like that, dude. Like, build around and help Schwartz out. As his first year here to have success in the scheme that he wants to bring, but also work with your franchise quarterback and put some weapons around him. Like, I really think by the time we're done talking about this before the year starts, we're going to be talking about a Super Bowl roster on the Browns. I really think it's going to all come together because now it's a full year with Deshaun Watson. It's a new defensive coordinator that players are going to buy into the hype. I really think it's going to be a really great feeling coming out of Berea.
Yeah, I think that you have to go after offensive weapons in the trade market. And then obviously you have to draft high value players because you're not going to be able to afford them. And you need to, in free agency, you need to get the defensive players that you can actually afford. Because, I mean, the defense is probably the place that needs the most help, but the wide receiver room is very close behind it. So I think those are obviously the two things that you need to prioritize in this offseason.
Yeah. And I think we need to, people need to understand this. The Browns I put it out last night on Twitter because someone was trying to tell me where they getting the picks and the money for all this. They have 8 draft picks as of now, multiple ones on day 3. They might even acquire some more it wouldn't shock me. The Browns will not be lacking assets. The lack of first round pick, that's it. They can go create cap space. It's not a problem. So if we're talking, I don't think they're going to open up $90 million in cap, which they can technically do. But I think they'll open up about $60 million in cap space. They'll use 40. They'll roll over 20. Because you can still roll over cap you open up into next year. So
yeah,
they're not going to lack assets, guys. Because I know I see that in the comments too, like the draft and whatnot, because they can't afford everything due to the cap. That it will not be a problem. They will find a way. And Andrew Berry, as we've seen, will structure contract. If they make a big signing, Daron Payne, Jesse Bates, they will structure it, backload it like he does all these other big contracts. And what'll happen, the cap is going to keep going up every year, and it's only going to help the Browns. They'll still be over the cap, but they'll keep restructuring. The cap will keep going up every year. So it's gonna be a fun offseason. It's gonna be a fun offseason.
100%. For the entire league. For the entire league, I gotta add it.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I think it's going to be way better than last offseason.
Listen, every year it seems like the trades and the free agency signings and all this stuff just gets crazier and crazier. I think this is going to be another crazy offseason of just people trading and dudes signing in crazy places you wouldn't have expected. Like I'm curious who's going to be the Christian Kirk this year. Like who's going to get like a huge contract that no one expected.
Yeah, I think it's Mecole Hardman. If it's a free agent wide receiver, Hardman makes sense because everyone's going to think, well, if we get him, feature him, he could be the next Tyreek Hill due to his speed. Everyone's always looking for the next Tyreek Hill. And Random Cardboard, let me just say this. They do have to be careful because you're right. It's a credit card at some point. You have to pay it. But if they know, and NFL teams know the cap is just going to keep going up, at some point we're going to look at a $300 million cap. It's only going to keep going up. Mm-hmm. So you can structure contracts and restructure a certain way. that is still going to be favorable to you. And a big reason they have Paul DePodesta, as much as some of us don't like him, the dude knows the cap. That's what he's here for. Big part of what he does is cap. So it's all going to work out. Andrew Berry knows exactly what he's doing. Mikey P says, how different will the offense look next year? Very. It'll be night and day.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be completely different because they're going to be able to completely revamp the offense solely around Deshaun Watson. Because remember, the first half of the season, they basically had to revamp the entire offense around Jacoby Brissett and what he could do and what their game plan was regarding his skill set. And obviously, when Deshaun comes in, you have a couple of weeks before he actually starts to maybe, start to retool it a little bit. But you can't really retool a whole offense in 3 weeks. It's not really something that you can just completely shift all of your plans over. Obviously, it's something that you want to do, but accounting for rust, accounting for all that stuff, you didn't want it to go full send with him right away. You wanted to kind of, ease him into the offense. And I think now that he's had 6 games to kind of knock a lot of the rust off, they're going to have the whole off season to kind of, look at the offensive scheme, change it up however they think is probably best for Deshaun, probably bring up a lot of stuff that they were looking at last offseason. They're going to really be able to just completely change the way this was. Like, this is not going to look like the same team that it looked like this year, because it's a completely different skill set at quarterback. It's a completely different, circumstances. It's no longer like, oh crap, we're not going to have him for 11 games. So I think it's going to look way different. It's going to be, and hopefully we're going to have new talent that we can utilize at wide receiver that can really make this offense look even more explosive.
Yeah. I mean, you pretty much said it all, Jack. The Browns, I want to say it. They might even be a top 10 team in passing yet next year. They're going to pass a lot more. And that's just the way it is. They're going to add talent at wide receiver, which is an absolute must. They're going to extend DPJ. I think that's a given. They are probably going to trade for a wide receiver, and he might even draft one. Mm-hmm. And they're going to run a lot of 4 and 5 wide receiver sets next year.
And they're I think another big thing is that, they're going to play to their strengths at quarterback, but also because we're not going to have Kareem Hunt next year. Like, I think it's a foregone conclusion that he's gone. He doesn't want to. Correct. I don't think he wants to be here. He wants to go find a new contract, and I think someone is going to probably pay him, even though it is a pretty deep running back class this year. But the fact that it's only Nick Chubb now, I think that we're going to see a lot more empty sets. Obviously, I think they're still going to have Nick out there, probably have Jerome Ford come in a lot more, but they're going to be passing a lot more than I think a lot of people are expecting, because we're not going to be running that big 2 running back heavy offense where it's just those guys are basically on the field every single play and they're a threat all the time. Like, obviously Nick Chubb is Nick Chubb and he's still going to be utilized in this offense and he's going to be a heavy feature, but this is not going to be a run first offense anymore. I don't think. I think this is going to probably be a pass first offense with the RPO being a heavy part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Which, I mean,
you hit it all, man.
Yeah, no, for real. It's going to be definitely a heavy passing offense next year, but I mean, I still think we're going to be run heavy. That's just the Fancy's kind of bread and butter, dude. Just build off the run, open up a passing game from there. I still think you're going to see a lot of run heavy games. So it all depends too. Each week is different. Each defense you go up against is different, and I think Watson is 100% bought into Stefanski's system, so I don't think there'll be any issues with it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like a Baker Mayfield situation where he wants to throw the ball 100 times with a torn labrum.
No, and I think, Watson even talked about how important it was to still find that balance of running the ball. I do think they're going to make a more conscious effort, though, and they are going to pass a lot more. They're not going to take the ball at Nick Chubb's hands, but I think you're going to see them also add a running back, possibly in the draft. I would love Deuce falling out of Kansas State.
Jerome Ford, dude?
Yeah. Well, here's what it comes down to, though. Do they think he is that? What the Browns miss more than anything else is a back that's like a Dion Lewis type of guy. That used to be like a Darren Sproles type of guy that you can put in the backfield, have that mismatch in open space, catch the football. That's what they need right now. Do they think Jerome Ford's that guy, or do they think he's more of a Kareem Hunt that can spell Chubb from time to time? Mm-hmm. That's what we'll find out. Another really good question here. This comes from Michael at MF Romans 90. It looks like most pressing team need outside of defensive tackle, free safety.
Yeah, 100% free safety. 100%.
Yeah.
Go get me Bates right now. Go do it. Pay him whatever it costs. I don't care.
Just write the blank check. Who cares? Just do it.
Haslam, you know what to do. Just hand him the check. Let him write the number on there. Doesn't matter.
Jack, do you agree or what?
Yeah,
what do you,
I think the free safety is pretty big. I don't really think that we have any other pressing issues other than defensive tackle and free safety and maybe wide receiver, just because obviously those are the three positions that we've been talking about for a couple of months now. At this point, it seems like maybe just some additional linebacker help, just because who knows what's going on with Anthony Walker and some of these other guys, just to make sure that we have enough depth at that position. But again, I don't know I'm not 100% sure on what Schwartz's philosophy is with the linebacker position, so I'm not 100% sure, but I think free safety is a very safe position to really want to prioritize getting guys for.
I got the impression that Anthony Walker kind of talked like he feels like he's coming back next year.
I think he is coming back.
It'll be cheap.
That's what I'm hoping, because it should be cheap, because he was hurt all last season, so I'm assuming that his market isn't going to be super competitive.
So do you guys think the JOK possibly moving to safety talks out the window? Do you think he's going to stay at linebacker?
It all depends on what happens in the off. It depends on what they add at safety in the offseason, because if they don't really go out and make a move, I think that's something they're exploring then, if they're doing that. I don't think they're going to draft somebody, because if you move on from John Johnson, which seems to be a given, you have to go add somebody. And if you're asking, then you're trying to switch Grant Delpit to free safety and move JOK, because JOK would have to be a strong safety.
Strong safety, yeah.
Then you have your same problem all over again.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's obviously up to Jim Schwartz and what he wants to do. I think what he's going to do is kind of like what we talked about when we first drafted JOK. Play him everywhere. He doesn't have to be pigeonholed into one position. Use him as a mismatch, because that's what he is. So that's what I think ends up happening. Jesse Bates, by the way, his projected salary, and this is according to
doesn't matter. Pay him.
Yeah, Spotrick is $14 million a year, which is actually a lot cheaper than I thought it would be. So just something to keep an eye on. Deron Payne, for those that are curious, is 19.4.
Dude, that's a lot for one lineman, but dude, he is a difference maker, bro. But I think you could. The thing that Andrew Berry did kind of neglect was he could have took the money he gave Clowney and upgraded between two guys on the interior defensive line.
Yeah.
No, he
could have,
should have, would have though. That's hindsight now, but
that's where I think they could do it this offseason, man. Don't make the same mistake, because let me ask you guys. So we'll get back to the last question here that we received, and then slowly start to wrap things up. Let me ask you guys this though: would you rather have that one star on defense? Now that could be Jesse Bates, Deron Payne. Let's say those are the main options, unless someone surprisingly. Okay, I'll add this because I mentioned this as an option. DeForest Buckner. Let's say he gets cut, because it's absolutely possible they can cut him and save $29 million or like $20 million or something. You go get one of them. That will pretty much, and then we'll say your budget for the rest of the offseason is $20 million, hypothetically. Or would you rather go out, like I've proposed to people, go get Draymond Jones, defensive tackle, young guy, probably $7 million a year. Go get a Zach Allen, another defensive tackle / kind of defensive end guy that would cost about 6 or 7 a year, and maybe go out and add another position on the defense for relatively cheap. Or would you rather have one of those star players? Would you have 3 pretty good players or 1 star player?
To be honest, for me, I would probably go 3 solid players, especially with you kind of want a good rotation on your front 7 too. So, and you have all these rookies you drafted as well. Perrion could still kind of come into shape. He was kind of looking good back half of the season. Alex Wright, you have guys in there that can still kind of come along and produce. So I don't like you said, if his projected for Payne, if his projected salary is $19 million a year, I do not see that happening for one defensive lineman. That I do not see happening. And that's the one position that Andrew Berry has never really paid. He might start now, but I see it being between two guys. You know, I don't see him paying one dude $20 million a year. But what do I know? I'm just a dude.
Jack,
Yeah,
what would you do?
Yeah, I agree with Zach here because I think the thing is that we at this point our interior defensive line is so bad and so just inconsistent that putting one guy there, sure, the name would be good and I'm sure he'll be able to produce, but it won't really be as consistent probably as having three guys or two guys in that rotation that are just solid. Because again, the Browns defense, if they were just average, we would be in the playoffs. Like, we don't need just one guy performing. We need the whole line to just be a consistent unit that actually is just, has decent talent all across. No one needs to be exceptionally spectacular. They just need to be able to do their job. Because if you have a guy like Myles Garrett, if you have a guy who can basically, demand double teams, if you just have decent guys who can punish teams for not, prioritizing or for not having guys who can beat you one-on-one, then you can succeed in the league. And again, Myles Garrett forces teams to double, triple team, hold him, tackle him to the ground, do all this stuff just to stop him. So if you can just win your one-on-ones, then you can succeed. I'm sure that you could bring any guys, and as long as they're capable defensive tackles and they're in here for the right price, you can have a defensive line that is serviceable in this league. We had a defensive line this year that was barely functional, couldn't block anything, couldn't stop a run, couldn't tackle behind the line of scrimmage like at all besides one guy. Mm-hmm. If we can just go from that to serviceable, at least kind of stout, maybe get some pressures and some sacks that aren't from Myles Garrett, you're looking at a completely different team this year. And I think that's what we need to focus on. We need to focus on being more consistent across the board rather than having big names at key positions.
You guys want to hear something? You could go out and get Rodney McLeod as a free safety. He's a little bit older, but he would be a leader on the back end. You could go get Zach Allen, Draymond Jones, and Arden Key for $35 million at a combined price. You could pay Daron Payne $20 million a year.
Yeah, like it doesn't make sense.
And that's not. See, people think when you say this that means you don't want a star. I would love to have a star. But right now, you need depth. We have no depth at defensive line. You have Myles Garrett, you have Alex Wright, Perion Winfrey, you have Togi, Jordan Elliott. You have very mediocre. That's probably putting it nicely. D tackles. So, I mean, it's crazy. I don't know if those will be their exact values. Again, I'm using Spot Track for all this information. I know sometimes it's not super accurate, and we'll know more when PFF's free agent guy comes out. But man, if you can go out there, keep in mind, Draymond Jones is 26. Zach Allen is going to be 26. Arden Key is 26. And then, McLeod would be 32. But either way, you're addressing defensive end. You have two guys that can play D tackle and move to D end, so they can play both positions, and you're getting your free safety. To me, it seems like a no-brainer.
And additionally, I think kind of when you look at it like that, when you look at it from this perspective, if the Browns had a consistent defense, and then we thought, oh, we should bring in a guy like Darren Payne, that would make more sense because okay, we're already a really good defense. If we bring Darren Payne, this is okay, we're going all in to get our defense really probably top 5 in the league. But when you're at 28 or whatever the heck we were at, you just need to get back to baseline to be able to actually say, okay, we're making progress, we're moving forward. Because otherwise you're just getting a guy to get to mid-level. And even then it's how consistent can you really stay at that mid-level when you're relying basically on only one guy being the difference maker at defensive tackle. I just don't think that that's a good way to fix the problem. I think it's way better to just completely, fill in all the gaps at the same time rather than just hoping that one guy can do it all for you.
Yeah. 100%.
Another name to keep an eye on, and I don't believe they're going to look at this because, one, he's older and the price will be too high. Jordan Poyer will be a free agent. His value is currently at about 11 to 12 million a year. He's going to be 32, battle a lot of injury. Man, that'd be a fun story to bring him back after we cut him. But I think that would be kind of a dumb one, to be honest.
That would be more like that seems more like an emotional thing, like bring that guy back, and he's getting way too up there, and I don't know if the money's worth it there.
Yeah, I agree. Either way, free agency, it's just around the man. We are almost a month away from free agency. It's crazy.
Can't believe it's already so close already.
Final question we have from JD at Jordan Lee Dalton. A surprise cut for the Browns this offseason. See, the name that we all know, I don't know if it's that. I don't think it's a surprise, though.
John Johnson? Yeah.
That's not surprising.
That's not surprising. Surprising cut, though. I can't really think of one off the top of my head. Wills. Well, we're not doing that. They're not doing that. Because that's another hole you have to fill.
That would legit. If they did that, I would question everything about Andrew Berry if they cut Jed Wills.
Oh, I got one, dude. Anthony Schwartz. That would be surprising.
He'll make it to camp.
I think that would be surprising because I think that they want to give him as many chances as possible because this is year 3 now?
This will be year 3.
So it's year 3, 3rd round pick. You really don't want to cut him until you 100% know that you got nothing out of him. But at this point, the dude doesn't return kicks. He doesn't play. He doesn't suit
catch.
Up. What does he do?
Flips burgers at McDonald's.
Does he fill up the Gatorade cups for everybody? What does he do?
I'm really hoping we could be wrong on him still.
Dude,
but
I hate clowning on Anthony Schwartz because he's a young player. I'm sure just he knows more than anybody just the righteous fury of people on Twitter. But my God, he can't help himself ever. Like, he can never just have a game where he's just like, okay, like 3 catches for 20 yards. And it's like, you know what? That was an okay game for Anthony Schwartz. It's always like, oh, cool. He caught 2 passes, and then he fumbles. It's like, oh, dude, you just can't help yourself, can you?
So funny. Oh, my goodness. It's bad. So, one for me. But again, this would be a surprise. Jordan Elliott would be a surprise.
Yeah, see, that name crossed my mind, but I wasn't even sure when is his rookie contract up, dude?
At the end of this
year. Last year. Okay.
And he's only making $2 million. So I mean,
yeah.
But I can't. But if you look at their roster, there's nobody else. Everyone else has been extended for a couple of years. You're not cutting Conklin at this point, obviously, because now if they didn't extend him, that would be the guy. I
honestly thought this was Conklin's last year until they extended him.
So did I. I
really did.
I thought they were going to do because I thought that Andrew Berry, he kind of talked about the tackle position. I think when they drafted Jedrick Wills, they're like, well, you spend on one side, then you draft the other side, and then you can kind of get rid of the older guy and then sign the guy that you drafted and then draft a new guy. And you kind of just flop back and forth between the left and right tackles that way. And that's how you keep the books for your offensive line kind of balanced. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, actually, we're going to sign the right tackle before the 5th year for Jedrick Wills is even done with. And now it's like, oh, crap. Well, now who's going to kind of get the short end of the stick on the offensive line? Because I don't think they're paying everybody. Obviously, the center position's kind of not really taking up any money right now. But I don't know how long
Ethan Postich won't be back.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't really know what exactly the long-term plan is on the offensive line. Like, obviously, I think Nick Harris is going to come back to the center position. But what's the plan with all these other guys, considering just how much money they're going to probably have invested in the offensive line?
Yeah, I mean, Big Kev Sports brings up Hubbard. Hubbard will be a free agent. He won't be back. That's why you have James Hudson. James Hudson's going to be the swing tackle for him, and they'll draft a guy.
Hudson.
They will draft an offensive tackle. I would put money on that right now. If you're going to DraftKings and looking for the odds, I don't care what they are. Bet money that they're going to draft any tackle really. As we're wrapping things up, guys, Anything else you guys want to hit on before we wrap it up?
No,
I want to ask you guys actually. I have a
Okay.
question. Sean Payton for a first round pick. What's your guys' thoughts on that one?
Desperation. No, seriously.
No, I agree. I agree.
He was not the favorite. They wanted Jim Harbaugh. They even went to Michigan after he already said he was staying at Michigan. They wanted DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans said he wanted to go to Houston. And then Sean Payton didn't even want the job. So you gave him $17 to $21 million, making him probably the highest paid coach in the league. You gave a first and a second round pick for the guy, hoping he can fix Russell. I don't know. It's desperation, man. I don't think he's going to succeed there. And to be honest with you, I think he's an overrated head coach. He had Drew Brees for 10 years and won 1 Super Bowl.
I gotta wonder, how bad does your job have to be that DeMeco Ryan, who's going to be a first-time head coach, says, I want to go to the Texans instead of the Broncos?
Who he sued in 2016, by the way.
I don't understand this.
That's where he was drafted.
Okay.
There's a lot of sentimental value, and that's the reason in my mind he went back there. He used to be their he was one of their first captains of that organization. I mean, that's why. Ultimately, that is why. And I love, again, at some point we will recap all these coaching hire. I love that hire. I'm a huge DeMeco Ryans fan.
Yeah, that was a huge hire for the Texans, and I really hope they get CJ Stroud. I do, man.
I really hope that he stays their head coach for longer than a year. I hope that because I think that this is going to be another rough year for them. I really hope that they don't just. I hope that this is like hey, we're gonna bunker down. We're gonna really rebuild this team and focus on letting DeMeco Ryan really have a shot at rebuilding this organization. Because the last thing I need to see is another dude get a shot at head coach only get fired in a year. That just sucks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That won't happen here. Nope. Anyway, something I'm going to put in the chat for everybody that is tuned in tonight. I'm going to put in there for you guys to have fun with the Browns roster. With Spot Track, you can actually go mess around, trade players. You can restructure contracts, see what it would look like and how much cap space the Browns could open up. So if you guys want to go in and mess with that, feel free. It's actually fun. You can go in there. You can basically publish the roster. It'll update the cap space and everything for you. Just go in, mess with it, see what you can come up with. You can even trade players.
Yeah, you guys think you guys are better GMs than freaking Andrew Barry. So go ahead and try it. Go try it.
You know what? Hey, if you guys are in the chat, go do it. Send us the screenshots of what you come up with. Seriously, we want to see it. At FD Podcast CLE on Twitter. Go do it. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, I want to see. I actually want to see what kind of trades people come up with. I'm sure they're going to be really realistic.
Hey man, I am curious. It's like a trade machine on ESPN for NBA. But before we get out of here, guys, like you guys said, it's so cold out right now, and the weather is truly kind of terrible. Right now, the only thing that keeps me warm is Homage. It's these sweatshirts, man. It's the most comfortable thing you can wear. And when I'm wearing this, I can go outside. I don't even need a coat. It's that warm.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I'm not even kidding. Today, I had to go outside. I had to put up a new spotlight on my house. I had to take the trash out, all this stuff. I'm like, damn, it's cold outside. So my first go-to was to grab my hoodie, man. My Homage hoodie. It's comfortable. It's like it feels like it's heavyweight when it comes to protecting you from the cold, but it's not. It's light. It's just so comfortable, man. It's so worth every purchase I've ever made. It really is.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is that whenever it's this cold out, I usually wear long sleeves. I don't have any Homage long sleeves, but I've actually gotten into the habit of putting on a long sleeve, and then underneath the long sleeve is actually an Homage shirt, because the Homage shirt is basically like an undershirt because it's actually really comfortable.
Yeah.
So I get to triple layer up, and it keeps me warm that way because I just don't have any long sleeves. I need to get some long sleeves, but yeah, you can basically use them as undershirts, normal shirts, whatever, because they're super soft, super comfortable. I mean, you can't go wrong with it because you can basically wrap anything you want. Get home and you're warm, you can take it off, and then boom, you're rocking a brown shirt, a Guardian shirt, Cavs shirt, whatever you want.
Yeah. I mean, you can't go wrong with it. So the link is in there and for you guys in the chat. Go explore Homage. If you haven't been to their website, I believe the first time you go there, you'll actually get a 10% discount if you subscribe to their updates that they have. And you will get updates. They have sales pretty much every single day. So be careful. Don't go broke. That's our advice, because you easily could with just the amount of gear that they have over at Homage. So be sure to check them out. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode of the Faithful Dogs podcast. If you're joining us on Facebook or Twitter, go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, you can do so for free. It doesn't cost you anything. You're entered in for exclusive giveaways that Network 216 has, and you get to be a part of helping us reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of winter. It's very easy. All you got to do is go to the profile, click subscribe, and also drop a like on this video. Help the channel grow. Help Network 216 grow. We really appreciate everyone that supports the channel. And speaking of the channel, tonight in just an hour, we got the dog chug at 10 o'clock. So you don't want to miss it. You need a good laugh on a Wednesday night to get you through the rest of your work week. There's no better place than the Network 216 YouTube channel and the dog chug. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will talk to you all next week. And go Browns, baby.
Go Browns.
Like, comment, and sub. It's for free.